Asterisk the heat over Redemption Ridge shimmered like a veil of flame, the kind that blurred the line between the living and the dead. Lily Harlan tasted dust in her mouth as she staggered forward, her blood-spattered wedding dress dragging behind her like a torn banner of surrender. The lace at her wrists had turned stiff with dried red, and the bruises blooming beneath her veil throbbed with every shallow breath. The cattle company gunman watched her with a mix of amusement and dull anticipation, fingers resting lazily on steel, as if the whole nightmare were nothing more than another business transaction orchestrated by the man who owned them. Gerald Kane stood at the center of the street, a tall shadow stretching long across the dirt, his black coat swaying like a funeral cloth in the scorching wind. His smirk twisted when he looked at Lily, possession, not affection, gleaming coldly in his pale eyes. He had taken her father's ranch, taken her mother's life with the same casual cruelty he used to swat flies, and now he meant to take her future for no reason beyond the pleasure of holding another living thing beneath his boot. The preacher lay crumpled beside the overturned whiskey barrels, the back of his skull caved in for hesitating when he saw the bruises on Lily's face. Kane's men had laughed while they dropped the dying holy man in the dust. Claiming God had no place in Kane's dealings, Lily felt something inside her collapse. Something that had already cracked the day they told her Jocks Callahan had been hanged in a canyon ravine outside Boot Hill, the memory of the noose, the shallow grave, and the wagon driver who swore he'd seen the outlaw's body dumped into the earth haunted her every night. Jocks, the man who once promised to build her a house where the river cooled the rocks, the man who taught her to ride bareback and who kissed her like he had nowhere else in the world to be. Jocks was gone. They made sure she heard the story from every direction. Hoping her spirit would break, she clutched her ribs, feeling the cracked bone shift. Kane approached her, sliding a gold ring onto his gloved finger as if preparing for a celebration. But even he paused when the ground beneath them gave a soft rumble, so faint Lily first thought she imagined it. A murmur passed through the gunmen. Some glanced at the horizon, others tightened their grips on their rifles. The sun burned low, turning the sky into a furnace of red and copper. The rumble came again, deeper, rolling like something ancient waking beneath the earth. No dust cloud of horses, no wagon wheels, no thunder of cattle, just one shape walking out of the heat. At first it looked like a mirage, a wavering human outline woven into the desert air. Then the haze parted and Lily felt her breath catch in her throat until she nearly choked on it. A broad-shouldered figure pushed through the shimmering wall, each step slow, deliberate, heavy enough that the earth seemed to tremble in warning. His shirt hung in tatters, exposing bronze skin carved with scars that glowed faintly beneath the sun's brutal stare. Sweat streaked down a face hardened by violence and survival. And at his sides, the worn grips of twin Colt Navy revolvers moved like extensions of his own resolve. The gunman stiffened, whispering uncertainly. Thought he was dead. Boot Hill's bones don't walk. Hell ain't supposed to spit folks back out. But Lily didn't hear them. Her heart pounded so loudly it swallowed the world. Jocks Callahan, Reaper, the half-Apache outlaw they murdered. They buried, they cursed, alive, changed. Meaner, carved sharper by whatever hell he'd clawed his way out of. He stopped in the middle of the street, dust swirling around his boots as if afraid to touch him. His eyes lifted, and Lily saw the familiar storm inside them, dark, fierce, unbreakable. Those eyes had once softened only for her. Now they burned with something else entirely, something primal and merciless aimed at every man who stood between them. Kane chuckled, though it wavered. Well, I'll be damned. They didn't bury you deep enough. Jocks tilted his head, rolling his shoulders like a man loosening muscles forged into stone. You talk too much, Kane. Some of the gunmen pointed rifles. Others backed away. A few froze, unable to decide whether the man approaching them was real or some spirit from the canyon shadows. Jocks's voice carried, smooth as sanded wood, dangerous as a striking rattler. Whoever wants to walk away, walk now. He dropped his gaze to Lily, lingering on the torn lace, the bruises, the blood staining her bodice. His jaw tightened, the muscle twitching once. But whoever laid a hand on her stays right where he is. Asterisk nobody moved. Kane sneered. Kill him. The rifles lifted as one. Jocks moved before the first trigger snapped. The dust around him exploded as he lunged forward, drawing his Colts with blurring speed. The crack of gunfire rolled like thunder between the buildings. Men dropped before they even knew they'd been shot, blood spotting the sand in sharp bursts. Jocks didn't slow, weaving through the hail of bullets, firing with both hands, every shot precise, merciless, inevitable. The air filled with smoke and screams. Horses reared and fled. Windows shattered as stray rounds ripped through walls. Asterisk Lily fell to her knees, covering her head as gunmen whirled and fired blindly, terrified of the ghost stalking through their ranks. Jocks slammed a man's face into a watering trough, shot another through the throat without looking, kicked a third into the dust before crushing his hand beneath his boot. He fought like a man who'd already died once and decided he wouldn't die again until he was finished. Asterisk Kane retreated toward the old mining office, pushing Lily aside with a rough shove. She hit the ground hard, grit scraping her palms. Jock saw it. Something snapped inside him, something older than rage, older than grief. Asterisk. He crossed the distance in mere heartbeats, grabbing Kane by the collar and slamming him against the wall. The remaining gunmen froze, dropping their rifles when Jocks leveled a Colt at Kane's forehead. Asterisk. 3 months, Jocks growled. 3 months you kept her in hell. Asterisk. Kane spat blood. She was mine. Asterisk. The bullet tore through Kane before he finished the sentence, snapping his head back and dropping him limp to the ground. Asterisk. Silence settled across Redemption Ridge, broken only by the rustle of wind through the still hanging smoke. Asterisk. Jocks turned toward Lily. For the first time since he stepped out of the heat, the hardness in his face cracked. He holstered one Colt, crossed the distance, and knelt in front of her. His hand hovered near her cheek but didn't touch, not until she nodded. Tears streaking down through dust and blood. Asterisk. You came back, she whispered. Asterisk. I tried to stay dead, he said quietly, brushing the veil from her face. But you kept calling me in my dreams. Asterisk. She laughed weakly. I thought I was losing my mind. Asterisk. No, he murmured, lifting her into his arms. Who's just calling me home. Asterisk. Behind them, the town smoldered. Bodies littered the ground. The wedding ring, Kane forced onto her finger, slipped loose as Jocks carried her toward the edge of town. Away from the ashes of everything she'd endured. Asterisk. The wind shifted. Hot and wild, Redemption Ridge burned behind them, but Lily Harlan did not look back, not anymore, not with Jocks Callahan walking beside her again, not as a ghost, not as a legend, but as the man who'd come back from death itself to claim what was his.